On this special edition of Planet Earth 2, we look, for the first time ever, behind the doors of the secondary school. Secondary schools are home to a very specific variety of human being, the teacher. Teachers come in all forms, with different specialities and different teaching styles. Very different teaching styles. The first breed of teacher we'll be exploring is the English teacher. The Anderson is an example of a talker. This extraordinary creature has the ability to talk for hours on end, rarely discussing the content of the course syllabus. This teaching style is perfect if you want your students to fall asleep in lessons. The class grows less and less fond of the Anderson. But the Anderson knows that the class is just too mainstream for him.
So what gives you this unique ability to talk for so long?
Well, I suppose it comes down to obviously being good at talking, but then on top of that, you know, you've got to have something to be able to talk about besides my extensive subject knowledge and natural passion for Shakespeare, who I very well could have been in a past life. You've got to add, you know, life experience. You know, you can't go into a profession as elite and challenging as the management of English and sixth forms and things like that. You know, unless you've been there, unless you've lived hard and lived true. And so I suppose, you know, like champion surfer, travelled the world. You've all seen my map behind my window, you know, behind my desk. You just gotta be there, you know, in life, university of life as they call it, you know, and then that allows you to really hold those year sevens in place and make them listen to you for a very long time.
It was a class of year 13s, sir.
Oh, they were year 13s?
Yeah.
Oh. And they listened too?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be even better than I thought then. Hey, anyway, thanks for your time, guys.
Hang on.
The Howells is another example of an English teacher. The Howells is a highly intelligent creature. The Howells is so intelligent that it's part of an elite minority in society. The elite minority that enjoys reading poetry.
So can you tell me about your favourite poetry, please?
Well, there's lots of poetry I like, but Thomas Hardy has to be the most influential and most subtle of the poets of the last 100 or so years. And what Hardy manages to do, I would say, incomparably, is create that sense of loss, almost that nostalgic longing that almost everybody experiences from time to time of having felt intensely and having lost that intensity. But to be honest, I mean, what I really like most of all is this kind of poetry. I don't know whether you're familiar with Stormzy, but the subtlety of this, the ingenuity, the mastery of language that we see at every single point in every single line. What we might see, you getting way too big for your boots, you're never too big for the boot, I've got big size 12s on my feet, your face ain't big for my boot. The subtlety that lies beyond that sort of belligerent rage that seems to be on the surface of this, if we look at the careful parallelism, the way in which the anaphora emphasizes the yaw, and the way in which the adverbial sometimes sort of undercut what Stormzy is saying in terms of this way he's trying to put down the lack of respect that he's feeling. It is, how dare you twist up the truth, because that is what is at the heart of this, but it's his twisting up of the truth and twisting up of the narrative and twisting up, most importantly, of the words that is going on here that is as subtle as Shakespeare.
This is the Gemma. Working with sixth form students, one must be relatable for the youngsters. And for the Gemma, this is easy, due to a simple adaptation. Being down with the kids. This characteristic means that the students are on side, and she can manipulate them to do as she wishes, enforcing a culture of silent study. The science department is home to a lot of extremely small organisms. One of these is the Hughes. Despite being the smallest teacher in the school, the Hughes is never one to admit defeat.
Can you tell me about the main challenges you face in life?
Well, when I was young, it became apparent very early on that I was never going to be a big person. I got taken to the doctor when I was about sort of 9 years old and told that I would be well below average height. Now, a lot of people would have taken that as a massive obstacle to their life, but I haven't. I've embraced my shortness because I did go through the phase of having short man issues. I got a dog which was the same size as me. I couldn't lead the dog at all. I had a big cart for a while. I had a Land Rover for a while, but I looked like a borrower when I was sat in it. So I embraced my shortness, and I've learned to overcome the challenges that it presents. For example, driving a car. My legs don't physically reach the pedals, so I have to have a booster seat. Which is fine. I've got no problem with that at all, and that allows me to reach the pedals properly. Opening windows is another issue. Again, I can't reach that window in my office. I have to physically get a chair and stand on it to reach it. Writing on the top half of whiteboards is also a massive challenge. I used to have a box called Mr. Hughes' box that I'd stand on, and that was in my last school, but the children stole it repeatedly. And thought it was really funny to steal it. So I then had to just stop, and I learned how to jump right. So you can jump and then right while you're in the air and then land again. That opened up a whole new area of the whiteboard that I'd never used before really. And it made my lessons a lot more effective. And the hardest challenge that I've had to overcome is, it sounds bad, but it's changing light bulbs. Now for a tall person, they might stand on the chair, reach the light bulb and change it. I can't do that. I have to stand on a chair, and then I have to put something on top of the chair, so I end up balancing, or I have to get a step ladder out to change the light bulb. Now, every time I do this, my wife and my children think it's hilarious. In fact, I kind of think they might be damaging the light bulbs just to make me change them. However, I've embraced my shortness, and I've embraced life, and little people make the world go round. Thank you.
The Lloyd is never without energy. The energy is infectious. Soon the students can't resist joining in. The Lloyd is a music teacher, and this energy is not surprising from such a creature, but the Lloyd takes it to the next level. Of course, the performances must be rewarded with a single clap. Next, we encounter the one and only Bowen Jones. She enters the room, flustered, a result of her busy work as an assistant head teacher. The Bowen Jones has a strange talent, and it's not speaking Welsh, although she is capable of doing that.
Right, here we go. Rydw i, rwy ti, mae e, mae hi, rydyn ni, rydych chi, mae nhw.
Bowen-Jones is renowned throughout the school community as the Queen of Comedy.
Do you know what? My husband, he asked me if I was having an affair with a man from Llanfairpwllgwyngyll who gennych yn drobi Llantysilio Gogogoch. And I just said to him, how can you say that?
So where do you get all your fantastic jokes from?
Well, you see, it's very easy because they just seem to trip off the tongue. I don't have to look for anything, any inspiration, it just flows through my door. It's an amazing thing, really. I've not always been, a Welsh teacher. I've always had aspirations to do something different with my life. As you know, or you might not know, I'm a bit of a tap dancer as well on the side, but my favourite thing is to tell jokes. Did you know that I'm actually related to Rod Gilbert? Yeah, Rod Gilbert and I, we used to go to school together, so that's the same thing really, isn't it? We're related. So yeah, he's given me a lot of material, but I don't really need it. Uncle Bryn, Uncle Bryn, yeah? On the older Gavin and Stacey, he asks me, he rings me up and he says, June, have you got any good jokes for me? And I say, of course, Uncle Bryn, I'll give you some jokes now. And they're just there, they just trip off the tongue. So, I might be a Welsh teacher to you, but actually in my heart, I've always wanted to tell the jokes and be on the stage. But I had to make a choice. I had to choose, and Welsh, luckily for you, Welsh was the choice I made.
This is the Davis. Although he leads the Welsh department, he has a role in the school far more important than teaching. Every morning he comes to the hall to practice his cue management. He has the responsibility of ensuring that all students get to eat their lunch, and he guarantees that they access their food in an orderly fashion.
So why is it so important that you practice these really important lines?
Well, because children don't seem to realise what they mean half the time, and they need to be reminded about some order and some well sort of rehearsed sort of routines in the dinner queue, because it's chaotic here pretty much every day, but Friday is absolutely over the top.
Why is queuing so important?
Well, because if you didn't queue, there would be anarchy, basically.
There we go. And why is it you? Do you feel a calling to be the person who makes sure all of these children get their food?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that they have, good discipline, that they queue up quietly so that we can control them sensibly, and that they can sit, relatively quietly and have their food. And at the end of the day, what I really would like is to see these children actually clearing up their plates as well.
Next, the Swales, the pioneer of the countdown clock. Students race to write down as many facts as possible before the timer ends. For example, the number of pairs of shoes owned by the Swales. As the time runs out, the tension in the room reaches its climax until...
Lord, it's Wednesday. Oh, I like a Wednesday, you know that, but there's lots on my heart to pray about this morning.
This is the Rev.
I pray for a greater silence on the study area. And I particularly pray, Lord, as I pray every day, that you'll get control over that DSI and keep them quiet. They cause an unholy row most days and cause great difficulty for Gemma.
The Rev has great responsibility managing sixth form students in the school.
As we get to lunchtime, Lord, I pray that all will be peaceful in the bistro, and I particularly pray that Daniel Burns and his mates don't try and smuggle in chicken nuggets.
The Rev is also responsible for all charitable and faith-based activities occurring in the school.
And Lord, as I'm about to begin opening up my email, please, Lord, no long emails from Seb Cheer this morning, sent in the early hours. Please, Lord, protect me from that.
The Rev is a busy creature.
In Jesus' name, amen.
So why is prayer so important to you?
Well, you know, Seb, it's such a rowdy sixth form, but prayer's so important for me because unlike the sixth formers, when I pray, God doesn't answer back.